Hello, you're about to hear Good Morning Seminole, our monthly signature event. Please enjoy.
A lot of great information here today. It is on the Metaverse. Yes, we are not talking about the thing in the Spider-Man movie. We're talking about real life, and we're going to show you what exactly the Metaverse is. This is a term that you're going to want to get to know. And it's kind of a little bit difficult to understand what it is, but right now, there is a significant effort around to make Central Florida the center of the Metaverse. And we've got a couple of great panelists today, or a couple of great speakers today, who's going to do a little bit different format than what we normally do. I'm going to go ahead and invite both of them up. I'm going to kind of reverse order on who's speaking first. Let me invite Mark Evans up, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Bubo Learning Design. I'm just going to give a very quick synopsis, and he's going to tell a lot more, but I got to know Mark just recently because he just expanded his company from Dallas into Orlando in the Central Florida area as with the UCF incubation program. But he expanded here. Why? Because of what Orlando is doing with technology and with the Metaverse. And he's going to talk a little bit more about his expansion and why he's here and why he moved here and all about his company so you can get to know him. But to give you an overview of this, because the Orlando Economic Partnership is the lead agency running and making sure they are responsible for bringing businesses here to Central Florida, they're also responsible for molding the businesses here and giving a great opportunity for businesses to succeed. I'm going to introduce Laureen Martinez, who is the Vice President of Marketing and Brand Management with the Orlando Economic Partnership. They are the ones that are overseeing the Metaverse. They have the digital twin that she may talk about that is really, really cool if you haven't seen it. But let's give a nice round of applause to Laureen. She's going to kick us off. I'm going to go sit, and we'll go back up.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's very exciting to be with you here in Seminole County and see so many familiar faces like Jason and an old friend, Ed. Met a lot of new friends today, too, right? So Ed and I go way back. When I first came to Orlando, I met him when I worked over at the Red Cross. So it was really, really, really nice to see him. But how many of you know or have an idea of what the Metaverse even is? Raise your hands. Okay. So I don't want to disappoint you, but I can't totally define what the Metaverse is because it really hasn't been defined just yet. There's a lot of core competencies that make it what it is, but I think probably the simplest explanation that I've heard is we're used to the type of web development that is on our laptops, our PCs. When you go a little bit deeper into technology and more of that immersive experience type of technology, that's when you're kind of entering the Metaverse. So I think one of the easiest things to understand is, I have an 8-year-old and he loves a VR set. That's number one on his Christmas list, so he's always trying to borrow his friends' VR sets. But kind of entering that world where he's playing, he's experiencing something, and you literally can experience anything in the Metaverse, but he's also talking to other people, right? So he's got his friends and his buddies that have joined him, and they're little avatars, within this digital world, but they are actually talking and interacting. So if you think of the Metaverse in that way, then you kind of start to see it, but it's so much more than just using a VR headset, right? So we'll talk about that here a little bit more this morning. So as you probably know, Orlando is the modeling and simulation capital of the world. So we really have the building blocks of the Metaverse, and that's part of the reason that we call ourselves the Meta Center, because we really are at the center of so many of the technologies here, and we're building the foundation of what is referred to as Web3. So we are the launch pad for the next generation of reality. And we really are, converging so many technologies that make the Metaverse possible. So I'm going to show you a video that will hopefully help bring all of that together for you.
Welcome to Orlando, the home of Imagineers, game developers, and tech wizards. With a foundation in creating experiences that are both authentic and incredible, and a wealth of talent in artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and IoT technology, Orlando is building the unbelievably real.
Orlando is the metacenter of the Metaverse. We've been building toward this designation for the last several decades. The culmination of our expansive multi-billion-dollar VR/AR development, coupled with the advancements we've made in 3D simulation and gaming, have made Orlando the largest contributor to the building blocks of the Metaverse. Here in Orlando, we have the talent, the companies, the desire, and the ambition to push the boundaries of Web 3.0.
This part of Florida has become a Web3 and Metaverse innovation corridor. Orlando has become a hotbed for talent and development due to its concentration of universities specializing in gaming and 3D, the large-scale work being done in modeling, simulation, and training, with a foundation in creating experiences that are both authentic and fantastical, and a wealth of talent in AI, VR, AR, world building, and IoT. Orlando is the Metacenter.
Okay. So as you can see, a lot of those technologies are built around this ecosystem that we have here. And there's so many companies in Orlando that are building the metaverse. When you think about Lockheed Martin and the work that they've done in simulation, KPMG, Deloitte, large presence here in Seminole County, Siemens, EA Sports. We have a lot of gaming companies here in the Orlando region. Plus, we also have Mitsubishi Power with a presence here in Seminole County. And there's newcomers like Lilium, which is creating air taxis right here in Central Florida, Skywater, and Red 6. Red 6 is a really interesting company that moved from California here to Orlando. And their CEO is a former fighter pilot, not just here in the U.S., but he's actually British, so he was in the services in Great Britain as well. And he has created a system where fighter pilots can be up in the air in a plane, and they are seeing virtual planes in the air, and they're essentially able to do their dogfights and all of their training up in the air, which is super cutting edge, and it's really something that no one has been able to create before. So if any of you have heard of ITSIC, it's like the largest global conference for modeling and simulation. It's happening at the Orange County Convention Center this week. Red 6 is one of the many companies that are there. So I encourage you to, if you ever go to ITSIC, to really dig into the 70+ companies from the Orlando region that are typically there. But we have unmatched talent, and talent really is at the core, as you know, of a business's success. And being able to grow our talent here is a really big part of the ecosystem. So Seminole State College, they have a computer and simulation program with degrees in computer programming and analysis, and they have a focus on simulation with specializations in information technology and really able to produce a lot of talent. And then, of course, the University of Central Florida, one of the largest universities here in the country. They also have a very strong program with their College of Optics and Photonics, as well as their Institute for Training and Simulation. And then we also have a Full Sail, very cutting edge university. It's known around the world for its labs and its studios and its programs, but they also have very specialized programs that kind of help build augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and graphics, and all of these kind of expertise that really grow our economy here in Orlando. So these educational powerhouses create the highest concentration of simulation and training related activities in the nation. And I think that's part of the reason that we can claim we're the Meta Center. But an even bigger story about our region is the fact that we have 500,000 higher education students that are enrolled within a 100-mile radius of Orlando. That is really, really impressive, and it is a huge selling point for companies who are in desperate need of talent, and the right kind of talent as well. Wanted to brag a little bit, right? Sometimes we're not so good about bragging about ourselves, but the Orlando region is the #1 fastest growing region for entrepreneurs. We've also been ranked as the best place to work in tech. We have the fastest growing salaries for tech workers. All of these accolades that you see here on the screen make this a very desirable location for companies. So this isn't really just about today. When you see these accolades and you think about the growth and the education and the ecosystem here, it really is about growing tomorrow, growing the next decade, the next 50 years for our economy. And by the way, you know, people talk about Austin, Denver, Miami as these huge tech hubs. So are we. We are beating them in so many areas, and that's something that we need to be more excited about and forceful as we tell the story of this great Orlando region. And by the way, when I say Orlando region, I'm talking about Seminole, Orange, Osceola counties, essentially what makes up our MSA. So, okay, so what is the metaverse? So the metaverse is kind of built on these competencies: blockchain, digital currency. So that's Miami, right? Like, they've gotten a lot of attention for blockchain, digital currency, and let them have it, right? They can be all about that. This is what Orlando has a stronghold in: AR and VR, artificial intelligence, 3D reconstruction, gaming, Internet of Things. That is really the core of what the metaverse is, and that is all here in Orlando. So let's talk about AR and VR. I think that's probably the most familiar for us. So we have the largest density of Unity licenses in the US. Has anyone ever heard of Unity? Yeah, they are essentially a software company, and they basically create the platform for almost every game that your kids and your teenagers are playing. So if you ever pay attention to the branding at the very bottom of a game, you'll notice that Unity is the software that's been used. We have over 6 billion in modeling and simulation contracts annually that flow through the Orlando region. And we also have, that we just announced this year, the Orlando Regional Digital Twin. So the partnership in its economic and community development efforts has built a digital twin. It's level 1 digital twin. We're working up to level 4 and 5, which helps you with all sorts of simulation and forecasting. We're not quite there yet. But if you have the opportunity to come to Orlando and swing by our offices, it's something that you should see, because we literally have a 3D copy of the region that's held right in our office. And just some of the big companies that are experts in AR, VR, of course, Disney, Universal, Lockheed, as well as some of these other companies that are in our region as well. So artificial intelligence it's used in so many industries: cybersecurity, healthcare. Here are just some of the companies that are experts in our region: Siemens, Sortech, which does defense simulation. Then when we get into 3D reconstruction, again, a lot of companies with expertise in optics and photonics. Like, whoever knew how cool that was to be. So when your kids are like, what should I study? So you should study optics and photonics. It is a growing, amazing industry that feeds into so many different areas. Gaming, we are very strong in gaming. We have FIA, which is the University of Central Florida's game design graduate program. It is #1 in the country. It is fantastic, as well as the Dave School, Rollins College, Full Sail, UCF, all have gaming programs. We're the #5 best city for gamers, with big companies like EA that builds the Madden football game, Iron Galaxy, Unity, and GameSim, just to name a few. And then there's the Internet of Things. Neo City down in Osceola County just received a $50 million plus Build Back Better grant to focus on semiconductor expansion. So the work that they're doing in Osceola County for our reshoring semiconductor activities back to the US is phenomenal. And that is another area that's really going to create a lot of jobs for our region and really put Orlando on the map for, you know, not just theme parks and entertainment, which of course we love, but also for so many other diverse industries that create jobs for us. And then I just want to highlight some of the newer companies in Seminole County, Palamas, Central Square. Palamas is a high-fidelity motion tracking technology company. Central Square uses cloud computing and AI for their clients in local governments. There's an amazing amount of simulation training for pilots that is happening around the Orlando Sanford International Airport. They've got an amazing cluster of companies there that are really training America's and pilots, not just for America, but pilots around the world. L3, Allegiant, all of them have very strong training programs in one of the best airports in the country. Right, Jason? So when you put all of this together, you can see that the Orlando region has momentum. We have the passion, we have the ingredients, we have the desire, and we have the ability to win in so many of these areas and really put our stamp on the world and put Orlando as not just a great place to vacation, but a great place to do business and really a great place to experience your life in the way that you want to experience it. So people often ask me, where is the Meta Center? Well, it is, encompasses our entire region. It's not a physical location per se. But if you want to get involved, please help tell this story. Look for us on social media, share those stories, share the company stories from here within Seminole County that have strongholds in these industries that I just described. Feel free to talk about the Meta Center. Now you know what the Metaverse is and how Orlando plays into it. And join that conversation, even if you're talking to clients and coworkers. And above all, let's work together and band together and really position our region as a strong place for business and really one of the cutting edge locations in the country. So with that, I will turn it over to you. But thank you so much for your attention. It's been a pleasure to speak with you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Evans. I'm the CEO of Bubo Learning Design, and I've gotten very used to adapting to the situation. If you guys saw a blue F-150 driving around with a U-Haul this weekend, that was me as I was moving into my house, anticipating moving in on Saturday. And when I got to the Panhandle with myself and 2 hounds, I was informed by my property manager that no, that would be Monday. So I'm participating in the ITSIC conference and had the fun of dragging a U-Haul down to get started there, setting up a booth, and they're like, wow, how heavy is this? And I'm like, it's about 100 pounds. He looked at the U-Haul and was like, what? No, that's my house. So fun. So this is minor. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. It is true that we are opening our second office primarily because what Orlando has been doing to build the metaverse culture and business industry around here. Our mission as a company is to bridge culture to the mission of the organization. And we do that and the real goal is for mission-ready teams. So we've always been a training company, but as work has evolved, the needs of our clients have changed as well. And so we know that there's this tension out there where COOs, who are responsible for the efficiency of their operations, are wanting people to come back because they want to see them, want to know they're working, and verify that because they've heard the horror stories of people working remote, taking multiple W-2 jobs, and quietly quitting without people knowing exactly how efficient they can be. COOs don't like that. They have to drive efficiency in order for their companies to be competitive. HR directors need to recruit and retain people. So that lifestyle choice of working from home is preferable. So the strategies that companies are doing now are evolving. And that's where we play. We're an engagement agency. We help companies develop strategies on how to scale in this new world where people are working virtually and also need to have some visibility of how efficiently they're doing it. We divide that service line into 3 pillars. The first one is knowledge. You provide the training. You let people know how to do their jobs. Let them know the specifics of what they're going to be required to do and how they're measured on their performance. The second part is connection. You have to have a purposeful strategy for how you connect together. How you onboard people is probably the easiest place to start, because you're hiring new people that you might not ever meet in person, and actually having a culture, a purposeful culture, is hard to do with people you never meet in person. So there really does need to be kind of a blended approach to it. O2 meeting is where the metaverse really will be changing the way people work. Now, us coming together today is a shared experience. That is very important. That will never go away, I hope, because that human interaction, face-to-face, reading the body language, all that stuff is so important. But doesn't mean that you need a large campus that's underutilized. So companies are consolidating. They're going digital first, but not digital only. They consolidate their campuses that are mission-driven branding, digital displays, collaborative spaces, so that when you have an event in the real world, you invite folks in and there's value in it. It's not something they just drove in to be seen, but the campus takes on the persona of their role. We did a project with the Bureau of Land Management, National Training Center out in Phoenix, redoing the internal design of that entire campus. Now, when the firefighting part of BLM shows up, the campus has firefighting content. When it's law enforcement content. When it's mineral rights, native lands, all the stuff that the BLM does, they have the opportunity to invite people to campus and have a very specialized experience to make them feel special, right? So by doing knowledge, connection, and experiences, companies have a real fighting chance of defining and shaping a culture in a purposeful way so that you don't have to demand everybody come in and lose half your staff, and you don't have to turn a blind eye to inefficiency because people are out there and they want to stay at home because they don't see a value in coming in and doing what they do at home, what they do in the workplace. So I've been in training and design most of my career. I spent some time in restaurants, and if you've ever worked in restaurants, you know that that's basically hiring, firing, and training, much like the military. My creative director, Robert, is at ITSEC right now with our booth talking to folks about what we're doing in the virtual reality space. And one of the primary projects that we've done that I'm excited to share about and was a main driver for us coming here is we got a grant from the United States Department of Agriculture to start building what we, at that time, defined the American VR farm. Agriculture. The Department of Defense is light years ahead of agriculture, but it's coming. So we got a grant to build a minimal viable product on virtual reality and beekeeping. We're going to test that on students and see if we can get inner city kids who have no idea where their food comes from, an immersive experience to get them interested in that field, because it's becoming more and more based on engineering. We want to build a digital twin. But before I came to Orlando, I didn't know what a digital twin was. We didn't even write that into our first grant. The people here in Orlando and the businesses are doing things that far exceeded my expectations. And I realized very quickly that we were way far behind if we were going to continue to expand this grant and get a phase 2, which is a little bit more serious money. So we made the plunge, talked to Carol Ann, joined the incubator out at UCF, and are now participating in ITSEC. And we're going to go to a tour on Friday of one of the companies here where they'll have a platform where you can walk in every direction, wearing a Tesla suit, feeling raindrops on your skin, gloves where you don't have to use controllers, so your hands are being tracked with a VR headset, and that a completely immersive experience. So I'm looking forward to that. That is crazy, isn't it? I haven't experienced it yet. But I'm looking forward to that, and that's what's happening on Friday. That's what's happening in Orlando, and that is why we are here. So we're very pleased to be a part of this community, and we want to help small businesses grow with a strategy around bridging their culture to mission. But we realize that what Orlando is doing now is coming to everyone soon. So we can't do that. We can't be a competitive business without being a part of this market. So thank you, guys.
So we've got time for a couple of questions. I've got one that will just kind of kick off, and if you have something in the audience, just kind of catch my eye real quick. But so what can Seminole County, the people in this room, and particularly the Seminole County Chamber do both to help businesses like yours and to help grow and spread the word and really be a part of the metaverse? I'm going to start with Laureen first.
Well, I think the biggest thing is to kind of do what you're doing now, right? Get together, talk to each other, learn, stories, share those stories. Ask if you've got, PR people, marketing people, engage them. They're the experts. But really, on social media, in your LinkedIn, talk about these things, share stories that you find that interest you about the community. But I really believe that by amplifying the amazing stories that we have here in our region is one of the biggest things that anyone can do, and sharing that with your networks, people who know you and trust you, and really just furthering the knowledge of all of the capabilities and resources and assets and activities that we have here in our region.
Mark?
I agree with everything she just said. I think people underestimate how quickly this is coming. The price points have dropped considerably from a $10,000 headset to a $300 headset that everybody wants on their Christmas list. And this generation is growing up with that. So it's coming. And it's already starting to impact even regular operations. And here's one example of that. Does anybody use Microsoft Outlook? Have you started getting emails from something called Microsoft Viva? Okay, so what is that? That is Microsoft's entry into the employee experience platform. They're going to have Viva Learning, Viva Engage, Viva Sales, Viva va. But that email is generated by machine learning AI algorithm that's watching what you're doing. And it's reminding you, hey, that is one little example of how it's already here. So I just think you need to talk to people, share that experience, and be a part of the events like this, because they're a lot of fun, and it's eye-opening because there's always some new little wrinkle. It's happening so fast that it's very, very hard to keep up if you're not really watching for it.
This podcast is sponsored and produced by AVL Essentials, your essential audio-visual production company. From podcasting to live event production, we have you covered. Please visit avlessentials.com to learn more about us.
If you can tune into our Chambercast series, it's always good. Go ahead.
Thank you. This is for Mark. You mentioned you were touring a company on Friday. Could you share what company that is?
I will pull up my calendar.
Well, and there are lots of companies that are doing stuff like this. For instance, there was a company that moved here a couple of years ago that specifically designs haptic gloves, which are the gloves that are controller-free that make you, while you're in the simulation, can actually feel stuff. It really, one of their targets. Another company that's working with them is ECS, that's been here for a long, long time. But one of the things they're doing is so that they're in the VR, they can actually train mechanics to be holding wrenches and things like that and looking like they're fixing. But go ahead, Mark, sorry.
I apologize, I don't know the name of the company.
You know what?
I was hoping they sent me an event, and I was hoping it was on my calendar, but I don't have it.
The virtual reality takes the younger generation out of the real reality. And there's so much going on in that world anyway. They text all the time, they're not engaged with people. And this even moves them further away from reality. So what are the safeguards that are being put in place to keep this generation still able to communicate with another human being face to face.
You know, I'm gonna jump in here on this because it's quite interesting when you talk about this, because my daughter loves playing Roblox, and she's even a little bit older, but she still loves playing that. And last night I heard her singing in her bedroom. And I'm like, wow, you're practicing for your choir concert? And she goes, no, I'm singing on the streets in Roblox and interacting. And so she's basking and actually interacting in real life with people online, and it's one of those things. There are safeguards in place on that sort of stuff, but it is not. When you look at what they're doing, it's not like the old days where you sat in front of a TV screen and were completely isolated. You're actually working with the community. All of her friends are on there. All of her people are talking and communicating on it. Anything else to add on that?
I feel like that's we could have a conversation for hours on that topic. But I think for me, I can just speak my own personal opinion, is that there's always new technologies, there's always new things, and I think every generation thinks the next generation is somehow losing some aspect of life because of that technology. But in many ways, their life is being enriched. It's just in a different way than what we were used to or we grew up with. So same experience with my son. He's interacting with people, he's learning things, he tells me about things that he's learned through those interactions. And it's just, I just think it's different. It's a different way than what we have been accustomed to.
Yeah, I don't have a good answer other than to say it makes me want to seek a grant on, can we build a Parenting 101 class in the metaverse, just because it's so difficult. It's like, I don't mean to belittle the question, and don't take it that way, but like, I don't know how to train dogs. I have these dogs in my truck and they're just wild. I don't get it. And when I talk to people who know how to, it's like, we're not training them, we need to train you. And that's true. I think in my opinion, there needs to be some forensic literacy kind of training for people who are a little bit behind, like me, and trying to catch up to where their kids are. So it's hard.
Says the CEO of a tech company.
That's right. Yeah, my kids are. Yeah.
So this is Paul Bertram. I don't really have a question. I have a comment. I come out of the architectural construction industry, which I heard nothing about today. When I worked at Disney on the Epcot project, we were drawing everything. I was hired because I was an artist.
Yep.
And now I opened up a company, we were doing parametric design. Now it's digital twins, it's AI, it's moved into the construction industry, and we're using bots and we're using drones to help do the construction. And I hadn't heard you talk about any of that, and it's hot. It's a hot one right now.
Oh yeah. Well, in the context of the USDA grant, one thing that we would like to do with the phase 2, and we're still this is aspirational, so just take it that way. We have not been funded for this idea. This is what we're proposing, is using the drones to do a data scan of landscapes so we can build a digital twin. Into that environment, you can use it to train self-driving combines, right? The software will learn the physics in that environment before you have to take it out into the real world and start. And I've seen a demonstration on that with the NVIDIA, is a company that has super powerful processors and the graphics cards that everybody uses to mine Bitcoin. They have already did a digital twin of Berlin and all the architecture with stoplights, and they have people walking through it, and they're using it to train self-driving cars. In the virtual world, the software learns before they install it into a real car and have a head start. So the same thing can be done in construction, and digital twins is a way of kind of getting the physics involved and understanding and predicting how will a hurricane impact this structure.
I can mention Finfrock is a company in Orlando, homegrown company, that uses technology, from the very beginning stages of a project to the finishing stages. So not just in kind of their simulation and modeling and kind of future casting of what their creations will be, but then actually through the construction itself, they use a lot of technology that's really, really advanced. They were the winner of our Schwartz Innovation Award, I want to say 3 years ago, because of that cutting edge technology that they use in the construction. And that's what's interesting, that this really does go, you can name any industry or any, any sort of business, and there is an aspect of Metaverse in that business.
I will say my daughter actually designs houses in the virtual world on a regular basis and wants to be an architect because of her work, because of what she does there. We got time for one more question.
Very good stuff. Mark, this for you. Question for you. You mentioned compliance, and that's key in our business and staffing, and probably every staffing company in America right now, especially remote. Number one is how does it work, or how would it work in that regards? And number two, have you actually set up any type of staffing companies with this product?
No, we have not. When it comes to compliance, I guess my perspective on it is it comes back to training and then auditing that the training was completed, and it depends what kind of compliance you're talking about. If it's like OSHA or if it's some sort of accounting, how you would simulate that and test it. But I think that you can build a simulation, a scenario, or training that mimics most kind of tasks that you need to be certified or compliant in, and then you can measure that to see how people are doing and confirm that they have the knowledge and check that box that, yep, we made sure that our employees got the exposure to the training they needed. Does that help?
Yes. There's a little bit more to it. Maybe I can ask you.
Oh, sure.
Yep, because we do need to. We promised everybody to get out at 9 o'clock, and we got 2 minutes to go. So let's give a nice round of applause to everybody. Mark and Laureen, what a fantastic presentation.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about the Seminole County Chamber, please visit seminolebusiness.org or check us out on our social media at Seminole County Chamber.